The grand chamber of the Galactic Council sparkled with its usual glory. Floating platforms held representatives from 100 worlds, their bodies varying from gaseous clouds to crystalline forms to more conventional organic shapes. But today, the normal calm was replaced by fear. High Chancellor Dawn Singer's tentacles trembled as she activated the main display. The hologram showed a star system turning dark, its planets crumbling into nothing more than space dust. "This is the 8th system lost this month," she said, her translator converting her melodic tones into standard galactic speech. "The crystal swarm grows stronger with each world it consumes." The chamber erupted in overlapping voices. Some counselors flickered with bright colors of distress, while others released worried pheromones into their environmental bubbles. Council Member Gray, a tall, slim being with silver skin, stood quietly. Unlike most species in the chamber, his people had actually visited Earth. He knew what everyone else seemed to forget. Sometimes the old ways were the best ways. "We have tried our most advanced weapons," a jellyfish-like being called out. "Energy beams pass right through them. Our shields mean nothing to their attacks. The finest minds of 50 worlds have failed to find a solution," another added. Their body, made of living metal, reflected the chamber's lights. "These crystal creatures adapt to every strategy we develop." High Chancellor Dawn Singer's tentacles drooped. The Bright Path Empire, with all their technological might, lost 3 colony worlds in just 2 days. Their fleet. She paused. Their fleet was turned to dust. Council Member Gray finally moved forward. His platform drifted to the center of the chamber. "There might be one option we haven't considered," he said slowly. "One species that might see this threat differently." "Speak, Gray of the Silver Path," Dawn Singer encouraged. "We should ask the humans for help." The chamber fell silent for 3 heartbeats. Then chaos erupted. The Deathworlders. "They're barely space-capable. Their technology is primitive. They still use chemical explosives." Gray waited for the shock to fade. "Yes, they are primitive by our standards. Yes, they come from a world that should have killed them many times over. But consider this. They survived. They evolved on a planet that tried to kill them every day, and they won." The council members murmured among themselves. Gray continued, "These crystal swarms behave like predators. Who better to understand predators than a species that survived among them? Who better to fight them than those who mastered a death world?" "Gray speaks wisdom," a deep voice rumbled. It came from Master Builder Stoneheart, whose species had helped construct many of the Council's greatest works. "I have studied Earth's structures. They build like they expect to be attacked at any moment. Their buildings, their ships, even their tools. Everything is made to endure." High Chancellor Dawn Singer raised several tentacles for silence. "The humans are violent, unpredictable." "Yes," Gray agreed. "They are. They're also innovative, adaptable, and they understand survival in ways we never had to learn. Our civilizations grew up on gentle worlds. Theirs," he paused for effect, "theirs was forged in fire." The chamber's mood shifted. Fear of the crystal swarm began to outweigh fear of humans. "Even if we agree, a gas cloud being pulsed, would they help us? We've kept them at arm's length since first contact." Gray's silver lips curved in what he'd learned was a human smile. "They will help. If there's one thing I've learned about humans, it's that they love a challenge. And they have a strange desire to protect others, even those who fear them." High Chancellor Dawn Singer's tentacles swayed and fought. Finally, she spoke. "We will put it to a vote. Should we request Earth's assistance in combating the crystal swarm threat?" The vote was close, but fear of extinction proved stronger than fear of humans. As the final numbers appeared in the air, Dawn Singer made it official. "Let it be recorded. The Galactic Council will formally request Earth's military assistance." She turned to Gray. "Council Member Gray, since you know their ways, you will lead the delegation. Choose one of their military leaders, someone who can think differently than we do." Gray nodded, already knowing he would request humanity's foremost expert in survival and tactical innovation. It was time to visit Earth's Space Command. The crystal swarm had awakened something ancient and terrible, humanity's protective instincts. The predators were about to learn what it meant to be prey. Major Tom Stone stood at the window of Earth Space Command's training facility, watching recruits run the high-gravity obstacle course. His weathered face showed little emotion, but his eyes tracked every movement with a predator's focus. "Major Stone," a voice called from behind him. "You have visitors." He turned to find his commanding officer standing with two aliens. One had silver skin that seemed to flow like mercury. The other looked like a walking plant with blue leaves. Both wore environmental suits, clearly uncomfortable in Earth's gravity. Council Member Gray, the silver being, introduced himself, and Science Advisor Leaf Speaker. "We come from the Galactic Council." Stone's eyebrows rose slightly. The Galactic Council usually preferred to pretend Earth didn't exist. "What brings the Council to our humble gravity well?" he asked, noting how the aliens winced at his attempt at humor. "We face a threat unlike any we've encountered," Gray said, activating a hologram projector. "And we need different thinking." The hologram showed massive crystalline structures tearing through space, breaking down planets and ships alike. Stone watched intently as entire fleets tried to fight the crystal swarm, their most advanced weapons passing harmlessly through the creatures. "Interesting," Stone muttered, stepping closer to the hologram. "Can you show me their movement patterns again?" The aliens looked confused but replayed the footage. Stone's eyes narrowed as he watched the crystal swarm's behavior. "There," he pointed. "They're hunting. Hunting." Leaf Speaker's leaves rustled in confusion. "They're crystals. They don't hunt." Stone shook his head. "Shape doesn't matter. Look at their patterns. They probe for weakness. They herd their prey. They focus on the easiest targets first." He gestured to the footage. "These aren't just crystals. They're predators." "Impossible," Leaf Speaker protested. "Our scientists have studied them for months. They're simply following resource-gathering protocols." Stone laughed, a sound that made both aliens step back. "With respect, your scientists probably evolved on safe worlds. They've never had to understand predators." He pointed to Earth beyond the window. "Every human grows up understanding predator behavior. It's in our bones." Gray moved forward, interested. "And you see something we missed." "Your weapons are too advanced," Stone said, drawing confused looks. "You're trying to fight them like they're machines. But they're not. They're animals. Very big, very dangerous space animals." He walked to his desk and pulled out an old book, actual paper, which made the aliens stare. "On Earth, we've been dealing with predators since before we had fire. Sometimes the old ways work better than new technology." "What are you suggesting?" Gray asked. Stone opened the book to a page showing ancient hunting techniques. "You don't fight predators with fancy weapons. You understand them. You learn their patterns. Then you use their own hunting instincts against them. Primitive methods against spacefaring crystals." Leaf Speaker sounded skeptical. "The principles haven't changed in millions of years," Stone explained. "Predators are predators, whether they're made of flesh, crystal, or anything else. They all have patterns, weaknesses, instincts that can be turned against them." He turned to Gray. "Let me guess. They're getting harder to fight because they learn from each attack." Gray nodded. "They adapt to every weapon we use." "Because you're fighting their strengths," Stone said. "You need to target their instincts instead. Even the smartest predator can't ignore its basic nature." He walked back to the window, watching Earth's harsh sun setting. "I'll help you, but I need complete control over the operation. No interference from your advanced civilization." The aliens looked at each other nervously. Stone continued, "Sometimes you need to step backwards to move forward. Your technology is amazing. But these crystals, they're not impressed by it. They're ancient, basic, like sharks in space. We need to think like our ancestors did when they first faced predators bigger and stronger than themselves. Gray nodded slowly. The Council has authorized full cooperation. Good, Stone said, already planning. First, I need all your data on their hunting patterns. Then I need a ship, something small and fast. And I need to bring my own equipment. What equipment? Leaf Speaker asked. Stone smiled, and for a moment, both aliens saw the predator that lurked behind human eyes. Oh, just some primitive human tools. Nothing your advanced civilization needs to worry about. As the aliens left to make arrangements, Stone looked again at the crystal swarm footage. These space predators were about to learn why Earth's history called humans the most dangerous hunters of all. The alien docking crew watched in horror as Major Stone unloaded his equipment from the Earth transport ship. Their environmental sensors flickered with alarm at each new item. Explosives, physical weapons, metal blades. The dockmaster's translating device couldn't hide his shock. These are primitive tools of war. Stone continued unpacking, laying out equipment that would have looked more at home in Earth's past than on an advanced space station. Coils of metal wire, mechanical traps, and boxes of what he called simple chemistry joined the growing pile. Sir, a nervous station tech approached Gray, who was overseeing the unloading. The human's heart rate and body temperature would be fatal to most species. Should we call medical support? Gray shook his head. No, that's normal for them. He watched as Stone easily lifted a crate that would require loading robots on most worlds. The sight made several nearby aliens back away. The station's artificial gravity was set to standard galactic levels, about 60% of Earth's gravity. Stone moved like he was enjoying a relaxing day at the beach, while even the strongest alien species on board had to use mobility assists. Major Stone called Dr. Reed, Earth's xenobiologist who had joined the mission. I think you're scaring our hosts. Stone looked up from his work, noticing the growing crowd of aliens watching him from what they considered a safe distance. Some had switched their environmental suits to full containment mode. Sorry about that, he said, trying to sound less threatening. It didn't work. His predator's smile just made several aliens activate their personal shields. A small group of alien military officers approached, their high-tech armor humming with energy. We have the latest plasma rifles and shield generators ready for your use, their leader said proudly. Stone nodded politely. Thank you, but I'll stick with my gear. Your weapons are impressive, but they're not what we need here. Not what we need. The alien commander's color-shifting skin showed confusion. These are the most advanced weapons in the galaxy. Exactly, Stone said, checking the mechanism on what looked like a giant metal trap. Those crystals out there. They've learned to counter your advanced weapons, but I bet they've never seen a simple snare before. The aliens watched in confused silence as Stone began assembling his equipment. Dr. Reed tried to explain. On Earth, we have a saying. The more complex the system, the more ways it can fail. Simple tools are reliable. They don't need power. They can't be hacked. And sometimes, the old ways work best. Stone stood up, stretching in the low gravity. I need to test something. Which way to your high-gravity training room? The station's high-gravity chamber was designed for emergency training. No one actually used it. The controls only went up to 80% of Earth's gravity, considered an extreme environment by galactic standards. Stone walked in like he was entering a gym. The alien observers crowded around the viewing window, their scientific curiosity overcoming their fear of the human. Increase gravity to maximum, Stone called out. The aliens watched in horror as he began doing what he called basic exercises in what they considered crushing gravity. Impossible, whispered one scientist. His bones should be breaking. This is nothing, Dr. Reed told them. On Earth, he trains at much higher gravity. This is actually easy for him. The aliens watched as Stone moved through a series of combat forms, testing how his equipment would work under different gravitational conditions. Each fluid movement, each display of raw strength, reminded them why humans were classified as Deathworlders. "Now I understand," Gray said quietly. "We've been fighting the crystal swarm with technology. But maybe we need something they can't adapt to. Something as basic and unstoppable as gravity itself." Stone finished his workout and walked out, not even breathing hard. "The gravity's good here. Now, let me show you how we're going to hunt these crystals." He spread out a hand-drawn map, actual paper, which made the aliens murmur in surprise again. "First rule of hunting big predators," Stone said, his voice carrying the weight of Earth's long history of survival. "You don't fight them head-on. You make them fight themselves." The aliens gathered closer, their fear of the human temporarily overcome by their desperate need to learn. They were about to get a lesson in hunting that went back to humanity's earliest days. In space, no one expected the most advanced solution to come from the most primitive world. The command center of the alien battleship fell silent as Major Stone finished explaining his plan. The holographic display showed a small star system where a crystal swarm scout had been spotted. "You want to do what?" Commander Firstlight's translator crackled with disbelief. "We're going to trap it," Stone repeated, pointing to his simple diagram. "Like how my ancestors trapped large predators on Earth, with bits of metal and chemical explosives." Firstlight's crystalline form flickered with doubt, against a spacefaring crystal entity. Stone nodded, laying out his hand-drawn plans. "Look at their hunting patterns again. The scout always checks for easy prey first, so we'll give it some." The plan was deceptively simple. Stone had studied how the crystal entities hunted. They would send a scout ahead, looking for worlds to consume. The scout would report back to the swarm, leading them to their next meal. "We're not trying to kill it," Stone explained. "We're going to catch it, study it, learn its weaknesses." He pointed to the hologram. "Every predator has a weak spot. We just need to find it." The alien crew watched as Stone's small ship, barely larger than a shuttle, moved into position. He had refused their offers of a battleship, saying it would scare away their prey. "Beginning Operation Mousetrap," Stone announced over the comm. Dr. Reed, watching from the command ship, smiled at the name. "Mousetrap?" an alien officer asked. "On Earth, mice are small prey animals," Reed explained. "Humans learn to catch them using simple traps and bait. Major Stone is treating the Crystal Scout the same way." Stone's ship dropped what looked like debris into space. Broken ships, random metal pieces, and what he called interesting bits. The aliens were confused, but Stone knew exactly what he was doing. "Predators are curious," he explained earlier. "They investigate anything unusual, especially if it looks like an easy meal." They waited. Hours passed. The alien crew grew restless, but Stone remained patient. He'd learned hunting from his grandfather, who learned it from his grandfather before him. Patience was a hunter's best friend. The sensors pinged. Something was coming. "Target spotted," Stone whispered. "Everyone stay quiet. Let it think it's alone." The Crystal Scout appeared, beautiful and terrible. It looked like a massive diamond with jagged edges, about the size of Stone's ship. It moved with an odd grace, investigating the field of debris. "Now we see if you hunt like Earth's predators," Stone murmured. The scout moved exactly as he predicted. It circled the debris, checking for threats. Then, believing itself safe, it moved in to investigate. "Just like a curious wolf," Stone said softly. "Can't resist checking out something new." The alien crew watched in amazement as the crystal entity followed the exact path Stone had predicted. It moved from piece to piece, getting closer to the center of the debris field. "Ready," Stone commanded. "Wait for my signal." The Crystal Scout reached the center of the field. Stone's finger hovered over a simple mechanical switch. No advanced technology, nothing the crystal could detect or counter. "Now." He pressed the switch. Hidden within the debris, simple mechanical launchers snapped shut. Metallic nets made of Earth's strongest alloys shot out, wrapping around the Crystal Scout. At the same time, precisely placed explosive charges detonated, creating a gravity wave that trapped the entity in a web of force and metal. The Scout thrashed, trying to break free. But Stone had planned for this too. Each movement only tangled it more in the nets. Impossible, First Light whispered. Our most advanced containment fields couldn't hold them. But this primitive net. Sometimes the old ways work best, Stone said, moving his ship in closer. Your containment fields tried to hold them with energy. We're using simple physical barriers. They never expected that. The trapped Scout pulsed with light, trying to signal the swarm. But Stone had thought of that too. The nets were lined with materials that blocked its communications. Target secured, Stone reported, bringing it in for study. And now we know something important. They can be trapped. The alien crew stared in wonder at the captured Crystal Scout. Their most advanced weapons had failed, but a human using ancient hunting techniques had succeeded. Stone smiled as he guided his ship toward the captured prey. Let's see what other weaknesses you're hiding, he said to the trapped Scout. Every predator has them. We just need to think like our ancestors did. The hunt had begun, and humanity's ancient wisdom was proving stronger than alien technology. In the observation lab of the alien science vessel, Major Stone watched the captured Crystal Scout through reinforced windows. The creature pulsed with angry light, still trapped in his specially designed nets. 3 days of study, Dr. Reed said, checking her notes. Want to share what you've noticed? Stone hadn't slept much, spending hours watching the crystal entity's behavior. The alien scientists thought he was wasting time, but Stone knew better. He'd learned more from watching than their scans had shown. They're like insects, he finally said. Not individual predators. They're part of a hive. The alien scientists topped their work, turning to listen. Stone pointed to the captured Scout's movement patterns. Look at how it keeps trying to signal in the same direction, even though it can't break through our blocking nets. It's not just calling for help. It's trying to reach something specific. Commander First Light moved closer, his crystalline form glittering under the lab lights. What are you suggesting? On Earth, we have insects called ants and bees. They live in colonies with a queen. Stone drew a quick sketch on paper. Another habit that mystified the aliens. The workers and soldiers follow simple patterns, but they're all connected to the queen. Take out the queen, and the colony falls apart, Dr. Reed finished, understanding dawning on her face. The alien scientists burst into excited discussion. Their advanced sensors hadn't spotted this pattern, but the human's simple observation had revealed something crucial. There's more, Stone continued. Watch this. He pressed a button, activating one of his simple traps near the containment field. The Crystal Scout immediately moved away from it, following a predictable pattern. See, basic survival instincts. Despite all their power, they still react to threats like any prey animal. Stone smiled, which means we can predict them. Gray, who had been quietly observing, stepped forward. Can we use this? Stone nodded, pulling out a larger map. The swarm's attacks aren't random. They're following food sources like ant trails, and somewhere out there is their queen. He marked several points on the map. Here, here, and here, they're major attacks. But look at this empty space in the middle. They're protecting something there. The queen, First Light said, his voice filled with realization. Exactly. Stone traced a path through the map. We can use their own hunting patterns against them. Treat them like the insects they are. Lead them away from what they're protecting. The aliens gathered around the map as Stone explained his plan. It was audacious, dangerous, and completely unlike their usual tactical approaches. We'll need more of your nets, First Light said, finally convinced. Already working on it, Stone gestured to a corner where several humans were teaching aliens how to make the special nets. But we'll need something bigger for the queen. Dr. Reed looked worried. The queen must be enormous. How can we possibly trap something that big? Stone's eyes gleamed with the look of a predator planning its next hunt. We don't need to trap it. We just need to get close enough. He pulled out another piece of his primitive equipment, a simple metal box with a red button. And I have just the thing. The alien scientists crowded around the box, their sensors trying to analyze it. What is it? Gray asked. Something we call a dead man's switch, Stone said. Simple, mechanical, impossible to hack or stop with fancy technology, and connected to enough explosives to create a miniature black hole. The alien stepped back in shock. Stone continued, but first, we need to test our theory. We'll start small, disrupt their patterns, make them show us how they really behave. He turned to First Light. I need 3 fast ships and volunteers who can follow Earth gravity training. We're going hunting. The commander nodded. You'll have them. The council has seen your success with the scout. They're ready to try your way. Stone looked back at the captured scout, still pulsing angrily in its primitive but effective prison. Good, because we're about to teach these space insects why Earth's predators were so feared. As the aliens rushed to prepare, Dr. Reed approached Stone. You really think this will work? Taking on their queen. Stone's face showed the calm confidence of a hunter who knew his prey. On Earth, every successful hunt started with understanding the target. Now we understand them. He patted the box with the dead man switch. Time to show them what happens when you threaten a Deathworlder's galaxy. The tide was turning. The hunters were about to become the hunted. The small fleet moved silently through space. 3 ships, each barely visible against the darkness. Major Stone stood on the bridge of the lead vessel, watching the stars. Behind him, his mixed crew of humans and aliens worked with quiet efficiency. Target zone in range. First Light reported from his station. The Queen's location matches your predictions. Stone nodded. The past week had proven his theory right. They'd disrupted smaller crystal swarms using his hunting techniques, and each time, the angry signals pointed to this sector of space. Status report, Stone called out. Trap nets ready, a human crew member answered. Gravity bomb set, another added. Dead man switch armed, Stone confirmed, patting the simple metal box at his belt. Dr. Reed's voice came through the comm from the support ship. Remember, the Queen will be different from the others. Bigger, smarter, more dangerous. Like an ant queen, Stone said. But this one's going to learn about Earth's pest control methods. The plan was simple, just how Stone liked it. Use the smaller ships as bait, draw out the Queen's guards, then strike at the heart of the swarm. The aliens had wanted to bring their battleships, but Stone refused. Big ships meant big targets. Contact. First Light's crystal form flickered with excitement. Multiple crystal entities approaching. Right on schedule. Stone smiled. They're territorial, just like Earth's predators. They can't ignore a threat to their queen. The crystal guardians emerged from the darkness. Massive, jagged forms bigger than any they'd faced before. They moved with deadly purpose, spreading out to surround the small fleet. Now, Stone commanded. The 3 ships split apart, each following a carefully planned route. Just as Stone predicted, the Crystal Guardians divided to chase them, following their basic hunting instincts. They're falling for it, First Light said, amazed. Such advanced beings, acting on simple predator impulses. Every predator has patterns, Stone replied. No matter how smart they can't ignore their nature. The ships danced through space, leading the Crystal Guardians on a complex chase. Each movement was calculated to draw them further from their queen. Stone watched the pattern emerge, just as he planned. There. He pointed to a dark spot in space. The gap in their defense. That's where she is. The Queen's hiding place was clever. A fold in space that their sensors almost missed. But Stone hadn't relied on sensors. He'd watched their behavior, seen how they moved around this spot, protecting it. All ships, execute pattern hunter, Stone ordered. The 3 ships suddenly changed direction, moving in perfect sync. The Crystal Guardians tried to adjust, but got tangled in their own pursuit paths. At that moment, the humans launched their trap nets, enhanced with alien technology, but still based on simple Earth mechanics. The Guardians thrashed as the nets caught them, their crystalline forms tangled in the unbreakable strands. "Path is clear," First Light announced. But the Queen, she emerged from her hiding place, and even Stone's breath caught. The Crystal Queen was enormous, a city-sized lattice of geometric perfection and deadly purpose. Her surface pulsed with angry light. "All according to plan," Stone said calmly. "She can't ignore a direct threat to her authority, just like an ant queen defending her nest." The Queen's first attack nearly destroyed one of their ships. Her second cracked their strongest shields. But Stone had expected this. "Now," he ordered. All three ships launched their gravity bombs, simple devices that created localized gravity wells. The Queen tried to dodge, but Stone had studied her movement patterns. The bombs caught her in a web of artificial gravity, holding her in place. "We've got one shot at this," Stone said, grabbing his emergency suit. "First Light, you have the bridge. Dr. Reed, monitor from your ship. I'm going out." "Out?" First Light's crystal form pulsed with alarm. "You can't mean." But Stone was already heading to the airlock, the dead man's switch secure at his belt. In his other hand, he held what looked like a simple grappling gun, technology older than spaceflight itself. "Sometimes," he said, checking his suit one last time, "you have to look your prey in the eye." The airlock opened, and Stone launched himself toward the trapped Queen. Behind him, alien and human crew members watched in amazement as a single Deathworlder moved to confront the terror that had threatened their galaxy. The final hunt was about to begin. Space was silent as Major Stone floated toward the trapped Crystal Queen. His magnetic grappling line, a tool that would have looked at home in Earth's ancient mountains, kept him connected to his ship. The dead man's switch pulsed quietly at his belt. Through his helmet, he watched the Queen struggle against the gravity traps. She was beautiful in a deadly way, like a massive diamond that could think and kill. Her surface flickered with patterns of light. Trying to call her swarm, Stone realized. "Status report," his voice crackled over the comm. "Guardian crystals still contained," First Light responded. "But the nets won't hold them forever." "The Queen's energy readings are off the charts," Dr. Reed added. "Be careful, Tom." Stone smiled inside his helmet. "Careful isn't how we got here, Doc." He was close enough now to see the Queen's crystalline structure clearly, like the biggest, deadliest geode ever discovered. But Stone saw something else too, something his Earth-trained eyes recognized instantly. "Look at her center," he called back to the ships. "See that darker core? Just like an insect queen's vital spot." The Queen sensed him approaching. Her surface erupted with energy spikes, trying to skewer him. But Stone moved like he'd been born in space, using his grappling line to swing between the attacks. All those hours training in Earth's gravity had made him faster, stronger, more agile than anyone expected in zero-G. "Your fancy energy weapons don't work so well against simple things, do they?" Stone muttered, launching another grappling line directly at the Queen's surface. The magnetic head stuck firmly. The Queen's light patterns changed, becoming more intense. Suddenly, Stone's radio crackled with a strange, crystalline voice. "Why? Fight. We, superior. We, perfect." It's trying to communicate. Dr. Reed's excited voice came through the comm. "The Queen is actually talking." "Superior." Stone laughed, pulling himself closer to the massive crystal structure. "Lady, my ancestors fought saber-toothed tigers with pointy sticks. You're just another big predator who needs to learn some manners." He reached the Queen's surface, his boots magnetizing to hold him in place. Up close, her crystalline body was like a massive maze of geometric patterns. "Fascinating, aren't you?" Stone said, placing small devices at specific points on her surface. "But you made one big mistake." The Queen's voice crackled again. No mistakes. We consume all. That's where you're wrong, Stone replied, setting the last device. You forgot the first rule of being a predator. There's always a bigger fish. He pushed off from the Queen's surface, letting his grappling line pull him back. The devices he placed, simple electromagnetic pulse generators based on Earth technology. Activated in sequence, the Queen's perfect crystalline structure began to vibrate. The pulses weren't strong enough to damage her, but they didn't need to be. They just needed to disrupt her control over the swarm. Impossible. The Queen's voice fractured. We. Perfect. No, Stone said firmly. You're just another animal. And we humans, we've been dealing with dangerous animals since before we had words for them. The Queen's light patterns became chaotic. Across the battlefield, the guardian crystals stopped struggling against their nets, their connection to their Queen disrupted. Stone pressed the dead man's switch at his belt. But instead of the explosion everyone expected, it sent out a specific frequency, one that matched the Queen's own control signals. A fake switch, Dr. Reed asked over the comm. Had to make our prey think it was life or death. Stone explained. Best way to get her true reactions. Show us her real weaknesses. The Queen's form started to crack, her perfect structure failing as Stone's devices forced her to fight against her own control signals. Within minutes, she broke apart into harmless crystal shards. Without their Queen, the entire swarm fell into confusion. The guardian crystals went dormant, and across the galaxy, crystal entities stopped their attacks. Stone let his grappling line pull him back to his ship. Behind him, the Queen's remains sparkled like a field of stars. Inside the ship, aliens and humans alike stared in amazement. First Light's crystalline form shimmered with excitement. You did it, he said. You actually did it. With primitive tools and simple strategies. Sometimes the old ways are best, Stone replied, removing his helmet. Technology is great, but understanding your prey. That's something my people learned a very long time ago. As reports of the swarm's defeat spread across the galaxy, the Alien Council had to admit something they never expected. The most advanced solution had come from the most primitive world. Because sometimes, to defeat a predator, you need to think like one. And nobody understood predators better than the Deathworlders of Earth.